Safety, of course, in the workplace is always of paramount importance, especially as we get into the holidays, and you may wonder, why is that? We'll tell you. Attorney Scott Wesson joining us now for a morning at Griffin. Scott, good to have you here with us.
Good to be here.
Getting into the holidays, obviously workplace safety, you always need to keep that at the forefront of your mind. But why is it even more important as we get closer to the big three? I mean, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's.
That's right. Historically, there have been more work-related accidents during the holidays, around the holidays, than any other time of year.
Really?
It's really strange, and I think we're distracted. You know, we've got so much on our minds. We're thinking about the holidays, and we're doing new things. We're trying new things. We take a part-time job, a seasonal job. Maybe our responsibilities at work change because someone else is out. And there's so much more to think about and to be aware of in the workplace. And it is for years and years and years now, that's been a real trend.
Is a part of that because a lot of the bigger businesses get part-time help going into the holidays and they may not be as well versed in what the company's practices are?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to point fingers and put blame on someone else, but I think a lot of it's the training. You know, someone comes in for a seasonal position, they just don't have the time and the place to train them as much as you'd like.
All right, what do supervisors need to do to make sure that their employees take extra caution this time of year?
Yeah, that's a good question. But like I said, training. You know, train them, show them, you know, the ins and outs of things, where to come into the business, where to go through the door, that type of thing. Because believe it or not, a lot of our injuries are ingress and egress, going in and out the door, that type of thing.
I never would have thought that.
Yes, it's weird, like especially in industrial situations where, you know, there may be something unsafe there that you don't want to walk through this area. And pay attention to the tape. You know, you see the tape on the floor.
Yeah.
It's there for a reason, you know, mind that tape.
That is something that I never would have thought, something as simple as going into and out of a place of business.
Yeah, that's very true. And, you know, supervisors can remind people to be mindful of the other people around them, too. You know, you're not the only one here. You know.
What kind of liability does the employer have if one of their employees, whether it's full-time or part-time, does get injured going in, going out, or doing something very elementary? Well,
the simple thing in Tennessee workers' comp, we make it simple. Part-time employees, full-time employees, doesn't matter. Okay, everyone is. If that person would be covered under workers' compensation under the Act, it doesn't matter if they're full-time or part-time.
Right.
Okay, and it actually protects the employers because that's the only remedy. We call it an exclusive remedy. That means that's the only way you can bring a case to court most of the time in a workplace setting is under the Workers' Compensation Act. So the employers are protected that. Keep your workers' comp insurance up to date. Make sure it covers everyone there, including those part-time and seasonal people.
What's one of the more bizarre cases that you have been aware of, without mentioning names, of someone getting injured by a pretty careless act at work?
Yeah. Well, I have a story. I was an attorney for many years with the Tennessee Workers' Comp Bureau. Okay, I was a government lawyer, and we had a very sad case where a gentleman was a manager of a large retail store, and he took a part-time seasonal job right around Christmas for a friend of his at a different store.
Right.
And he was working part-time. He was working 2 days a week, maybe 15 hours a week. He fell from a ladder, and he was terribly injured, paralyzed from the neck down.
Oh, no.
And that was a case of someone doing something outside of the usual scope of what they do during the holidays, and a terrible injury.
And just trying to raise a little bit of extra Christmas cash, and you wind up carrying around a burden that you'll have to live with for the rest of your life.
Very sad story.
If you are injured in a situation like that, what is the first logical step that you're supposed to do?
Yeah, number one is report your injury. And you're required. The statute gives you 15 days in Tennessee to report an injury under most circumstances, okay? But you don't want to wait 15 days. You don't want to wait 15 minutes if you don't have to. You want to report it right away and let your employer know that you've been injured and that you need medical attention.
Most employers are pretty quick to follow the rules of workman's comp for obvious reasons, I would think, right?
You'd be surprised. You know, there are horror stories out there, but most employers, especially larger employers, are versed in what to do and how to take care of things when it happens.
Right. And if for some reason you don't think that your employer is doing what they should do, what's their next step?
Well, the next step would be to call me at Warren and Griffin. We would be glad to speak with you about your rights and your responsibilities under the Workers' Compensation Act. You have rights and certain things that you are entitled to that you may be due, but you also have responsibilities, things that you need to do to protect yourself, to put yourself in the right position.
And like with any other kind of legal situation, navigating the waters can be a little rocky unless you've got the help of an expert. Right?
Yeah, it's strange how complicated workers' compensation law is. It shouldn't be that way, but I've been in the business for 19 years. I haven't figured out how to make it any simpler yet, so maybe somebody will.
At least you can help us keep it between the ditches, though. All right, Scott Wesson, thanks so much.
Hey.
Hope you have a Merry Christmas.
Hey,
Go ahead and get in touch with Scott or any of the other great attorneys at Warren and Griffin. You can call them at 265-HURT, 265-HURT, and the website, warrenandgriffin.com. Stick around. We'll talk about dealing with holiday grief